Hey everybody, John Stifler here with GAI Insights, bringing thoughts in your head and time in your day, reviewing the articles that are important, essential, or optional. We're delighted to have Lucinda Lindy today. Hello, Lucinda. We got a full house. We got Paul, Adam, Ankash, and Luda. With everything from new intelligent robotics to code maps and other tools to help your AI go forward faster. And if you want to follow along, go to gaiinsights.com/articles. All right, Akash, if you could start us off, please.
Sure, thanks, Sean. So the first one that we have for today comes from Bessemer Venture Partners, and it is titled Intelligent Robotics, the New Era of Physical AI.
Okay, Luda, you, like I, love robotics here. What's up?
I love robotics. And this is a good overview of where robotics is currently. I don't like the presentation. They gave us essentially a PPT that you can click through. I'd prefer a text or something. So, but what they're talking, I rated the article as optional for the general AI leader, but for robotics, it might be an interesting read. So Bessemer talks about what is happening in robotics in general. There are 5 factors that spearhead it forward. Certainly, there's a labor shortage around the world for sure. LLMs and especially vision LLMs are getting stronger. Edge computing is getting stronger, and we talk about it almost every day. Hardware stack is and hardware communications stack is getting stronger, and the talent going from the Anthropics of the world and Googles of the world into these emerging startups, right? So this is certainly propelling robotics forward. The Bessemer talks about 3 areas where the issues are for robotics that need to be advanced, and that is robustness, that requires more data and how you handle data, manipulation and dexterity. There's lots of advancement, but not that yet there. And then adaptation for in the general environment. So is there a ChatGPT moment for robotics here now? Yeah. Not yet, it sounds like. But and Bessemer talks about where they're investing and present the market map. So it's a good overview, I think, but optional.
Yeah, these venture firms are doing some nice research and then sharing it out, I think, to find new investment opportunities. What do you think here, Lucinda?
Yeah, so I do think it's a good overview, and it deals with the enough data problem that robotics is kind of I don't say plagued with, but has that a lot of companies don't have enough in-house data to really be able to utilize scaling laws and get the sort of inflection point. But from other articles and videos that I've seen, there is definitely kind of an acceleration, if not quite an inflection point, as compute capabilities, et cetera, come together. This is BVP's investment thesis. It is a good overview. So I think it's good for people who are interested in robotics, optional for the AI enterprise leader, who most enterprise leaders are not dealing with robotics.
All right, Adam, where are you on this?
Yeah, I was optional as well. To your comment, Lud, I agree. If it's the problem with calling it a ChatGPT moment is that it's still limited by the physical capabilities through which we have to scale for robotics, right? And so it just can't move at the pace that effectively the speed of light like ChatGPT can.
Yeah, it's a very interesting domain. Ankash.
Optional read for the AI leader, John.
All righty, Paul.
Optional.
You're going to make the case for essential? No.
Optional.
All right. It's interesting. This I'm optional as well. This whole domain. I mean, you look at a company like iRobot, started by Riley Brooks, the folks who did the Roomba, and they weren't able to get. They had a really hard time because their R&D to keep pushing forward on, the creation of new intelligence exceeded their ability to extract value in the marketplace and the price of the robot. I think the other thing that's for me was missing from this is that they don't talk at all about the military, and I think the military is going to be what drives, robotics and consumption. I mean, it's going to happen in warfare first. So anyway, Yes.
And they don't call it out, but if you look at one of the slides when they talk about the application cases, one of the use cases is DoD. So it's solely driven by military. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
natural.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a relatively extensive but slow adoption of robots. Because you have to do a lot with your environment, and power, and all kinds of stuff. But the military, I think, is going to go hammer and tongs. I mean, what we'll see by 2030 on the battlefield is going to be funky. Anyway, all right, Akash, next. That's optional.
Okay, the next one comes from Journalist AI, and they have introduced Gen Zero, embodied foundation models that scale with physical interaction.
Yeah, very interesting. These folks claiming, the creation of power laws as they've built a model that starts with real world info. Adam, do you buy their argument?
It's interesting. I don't know how soon it's going to be relevant to our AI leader. I called it some optional news. So basically what they've done is they have the largest and most diverse data set of real world manipulations. So there's a fair way down the page. I think it might be a little bit from that video, but where they show a graph of Gen Zero against some of the other training sets for like Droid or Figures, Helix, some of the other robots out there. And they just have orders of magnitude larger, 270,000 hours of real world manipulation trajectory. So effectively what they're saying is most of the robots out there are actually trained with large language models. So they're using code and visual understanding, whereas this one is actually using the trajectories from the physical manipulation in the real world. So they're just training the model to understand the world in a way that they claim is far more efficient and more intelligent for robotics. It's an interesting claim, still optional news at this point, but from peeling potatoes to threading bolts, it looks like they're onto something here.
Yeah, okay. So optional news to AI leader, Lucinda.
Yeah, agree, optional. But I do think that, I talked about the enough data problem. This is actually getting at enough data to be able to observe scaling models and scaling laws, and that they are kind of observing an intelligence threshold or a phase transition where you have a certain set of performance from small 1 billion parameters, and at larger models at 7 billion, you get better performance. They also talk about harmonic reasoning, which is an architecture that does simultaneous sensing and acting streams. So really, a lot of the kind of synthesizing modes that they're talking about. Again, it's research. It's in the future for the AI leader. Unless they're involved in robotics, it's optional.
All right, Akash.
Optional, John. Exciting but optional.
Paul?
Ditto. Exciting but optional.
Luda?
Absolutely the same. Yeah, talk about the robustness, right? You absolutely need as much data as you can feed back to the robot, if it can take it and take it intelligently. So this is very exciting, but optional.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a mathematician over at Google, and we talked a little bit about before, and he said their math that they're working on, they believe, can describe all of the observable universe, not quantum and stuff like that. So, this idea of going from real world models to language models to, functional models, I think we're in a multidimensional semantic and action space that's just getting going, but still early. Optional it is. Okay, next.
Okay, the next one comes from Cognition, and they have introduced windsurf code maps, understanding code before you wipe it.
All right, Lucinda, you do this for a living. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think it's at least important. And really what code maps is, it's positioned as an AI-powered, making a map of your code base. And it's designed to improve both human and AI engineer comprehension of large systems rather than simply generating code. So it integrates into Windsurf, which is one of the AI, the software development agents, kind of like Cursor, Windsurf, etc. So you can get a snapshot of your code base. What problem does it solve? So that even experienced engineers can spend a lot of time or mental bandwidth kind of onboarding, context switching, looking at legacy code. If you touch this part here, it impacts that part there in this manner. So it can actually take 3 to 9 months for a human to on-ramp. And so their argument here is that these code maps can help you on-ramp more quickly and be able to get people to be able to, build code that's useful, more quickly. And then, so, what does it mean for the organization? Certainly for an AI leader, it's certainly safe to pilot this and to try it out and see what people are doing. This is still early days. It's kind of in the early adopter phase. And really, have we figured out how do code maps integrate in and what's the best way to use them? None of that, but really some people on social media have said, yep, this is saving me a lot of time. Other people say, all right, now I got another thing to update. So, still, I think it's important because you can use it right now. You can be an early adopter, and definitely worth trying out.
Okay, so we're looking at important, you think?
Yep.
All right, Paul, what do you think?
No, optional. It's a product announcement. This is a very complex pace area. They don't. We need to see 3 or 4 people actually have used this. It's a well-known problem, but it's optional. It's a product announcement.
Adam?
Yeah, I was optional this as well. The graph. I mean, I was on the edge, but then their graph of I don't know if you can find it there and pull it up or further on the page about your coding ability constrained by your code-based understanding. It's just it's just absolute pseudoscience at best. And I frankly didn't agree with what they call the vibe coding uplift and the limitations without their code maps. It's another framework, but to Paul's point, we'll wait and see until it proves out.
Coach?
Optional, John, but I think it's a new trend that we are seeing. I think Replit or some other platform, they also introduced something similar where you can look at the code base, create a map, and understand what the agent is doing. So I think we will see more of it going forward, where people will try to understand the vibe coding bit as well. So, but still optional.
And Luda, where are you?
I'm with Lucinda. And as a software developer of complex code, I was waiting for that. This is absolutely necessarily critical for software developers. So I can live with this being optional for AI leader because it's a product announcement, it's early. But if you step back and look what we need, we are generating a lot of vibe coding slop. So this is like junk coming out, and people don't understand it. People plug it into operational processes. This is a recipe for disaster coming up. So it is a necessary tool to have a semantic layer of understanding your code, and especially in complex builds. So this is necessary. This is hugely important, but it's early days, so I guess it's not quite yet ready for limelight. So I'm supportive of important, but I don't think this is maybe an article for it. I'm between optional and important, John.
Yeah, I was leaning toward important because this idea of, the middle, kind of a middleware representation of what the code base is. And I understand what you're saying about the pseudoscience there in the graphic, but, look at the hype cycle. That's, that's very popular and people find it useful. And there's absolutely no correspondence to anything for the hype cycle. Anyway, the back in the 80s, God forbid, did a lot of work with uppercase and lowercase, computer-aided software engineering, at the spec level, computer-aided software engineering at the execution level. Texas Instruments was really big at the time. And if you look at cognitive science and you look at how experts actually learn things over time, it's a 10,000 hour thing that what's his name popularized, that you do create,
Gladwell,
thank you. You do create these intermediate cognitive structures, and having them really does increase the cognitive space that we got, cognitive working space that we all can work in. If you can go down to the code, then up a level, and it allows you to see dynamics that you don't see when you're either at the code level or at the spec level, but this intermediate level language. So I think it's a very important representation system. In the old days, we call it some other name, but code maps.
John, the more I think about it, I think probably what's missing for me is that they're sort of conflating the idea of vibe coding, which is non-developers building things, with a very important problem that's being solved for software developers here. Right. And I think that's where this article lost me, because they get into this whole thing about the vibe coding, but really this is about software developers being able to be more effective when they're on the tools quicker.
No. Yeah.
No, there is actually a plug, right? So those
Yeah.
agents that people are creating with vibe coding, that plugs into the overall infrastructure of applications, right, in an enterprise. So if you are plugging stuff indiscriminately and creating,
it would help vibe coders, right?
It would help
this
vibe
concept
coders.
that John's talking about of that intermediary layer of the code
Totally, I agree with you.
is more, I think, for developers who using these tools are trying to more quickly and effectively understand how they can be impactful.
No, I do think that it's worth trying out, right? So that if you want to be an early adopter, you can try it out. You can recognize that it's immature and that there's going to be, things where it doesn't really fit well with other aspects of it. But for a lot of these things, if you want to try and catch up later, then that just is more difficult.
All righty, I'm going to give it an important. We're going next. We have to pick up the pace a little bit here.
Okay, the next one comes from Google Cloud, and it is a case study about how SmarterX leans on Google Cloud to deliver custom LLMs for its customers.
So, Ankash, this was definitely not written by a robot, because no robot is this inarticulate. What do you think?
Yeah, John, I agree with you. It could have been a much better case study if they have done it or written it themselves or by a robot. But yeah, really an optional read. So SmarterX, they're a vendor who use Google Cloud and other Google tools, Gemini, Vertex AI, BigQuery to structure data and then fine-tune LLMs. They use Gemini and other LLMs from Vertex AI as well, and they do it for compliance-heavy workflows. But there were two things I think that were good in this. One was the built-in grounding mechanism they highlighted, but they don't explain it much. And then the RAG part of it, if they have explained it better in terms of how they do that compliance-heavy LLMs or fine-tune them, it might have been important, but super optional case study for now.
Yeah, interesting. I remember listening to a guy from Deloitte saying, "Hey, I was going to get rid of technical debt. This sure looks like the birth of technical debt to me." But interesting, this notion of small models getting manufactured. What do you think, Luda?
Yeah, triple optional, badly written, not quite clear. So,
all right,
John. One thing I wish Gemini has been lauded in the last 2 or 3 months on their great video and image thing here. The Notebook LM is a great way to create a audio. They also have, I forget what it's called, where you can create a video off of a PowerPoint.
Yeah.
I wish they would use those tools, use their own tools when they did these case studies. This is just a burp out text.
I know.
It's very compelling.
Yeah, talk about the cobbler's children, right? Adam, we got a barefoot case study here. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it just left me wanting to know how they did it and what were the actual results. Like, it just missed the mark entirely.
All right, we're gonna go optional on this. Anybody disagree?
I want to note that quote: "Barefoot cobbler's child."
I know, I like that.
Yeah,
That was like sweaters with dinosaurs and barefoot.
That's an old sweaters on dinosaurs. I made up, but the cobbler's children being barefoot, whatever. That's only. Okay, got that one from my grandmother, who lived to be 105 and worked until she was 99. God love her. All right. Next, Ankash.
Yes, moving on to the next one. This one comes from VentureBeat and talks about SAP's RPT-1, which brings ready-to-use AI for business tasks.
Yeah, I've got to imagine people are sitting there at SAP headquarters just pulling their hair out. It's like, what is wrong? Why are we not leading this thing? Okay, Adam, what do you think?
I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something, but I was super optional on this one. It's a bit of an interesting concept. As you see, they talk about tabular versus LLMs, tabular models. And so basically it's trained on Excel spreadsheets and business transactions. Yeah. And they say the value is that out of the box, it can do predictive analysis and it doesn't need any sort of fine tuning. And I mean, I don't know if they've seen 5.4 or a lot of the other small language models that are coming out now that like the fine tuning works great. And it's interesting for them to try and sort of position against the benefits of, because they can do it already. But it seems like they're just sort of I mean, they are, to be fair, taking a new approach other than large language models to how to solve this problem, and it could prove out. But at this point, it seems to mostly just be a product announcement of a concept that might prove to be more valuable.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. Talk about damning with faint praise. Product announcement that it's got something that might prove to be valuable on a Tuesday every other month. Ankash.
Optional, John.
Lucinda.
Yep, optional. I mean, one of the things I was thinking about was, well, why not look at Codex or Claude Code and just say, well, take my data and have Codex or Claude Code looking at it. And, I actually had to have, ChatGPT explain to me, like, okay, wow, this is a little bit different. I mean, I guess the innovative aspects are it is domain-specific pre-training. There is kind of and unless you're an SAP shop, it's probably not interesting to you. It'd be very interesting to test out, well, can it really ready to predict, and how does it compare to Claude Code or Codex, OpenAI Codex? So yeah, optional, but yeah, as you say, Adam, there might be a there. Let's wait and see if anyone points it out.
Paul?
Optional.
Luda?
Too little, too late. I was actually wondering, SAP is sitting on like mountain of information, right? Industrial processes, connections. I mean, you name it, they have it across industries, inside the industry stack, and they're not using it. It's like really bizarre from my perspective. This is like a weak attempt to catch up and differentiate that they are not. So from my perspective, it's a triple optional and shame on SAP. I mean, I think they're asleep at the wheel. That's what I say.
Well, and I think, Luda, to that point, they're going to continue to be just a slow rock that's floating away in the universe because, all the top talents, that top talent that's left is not going to stay there. They're not going to be able to attract anyone to build AI stuff over there. So they're going to be, they have been a boring legacy company, and they'll just continue to do that. And all they're doing is maximizing cash flow by having less and less features to install base. So,
yeah. Who was the pundit that said, the reports of my deaths are premature? SAP stock price has tripled, right, in the past 4 or 5 years. So, I mean, yes, they're worth trillions. They're only worth 250 billion, 300 billion.
What I think they need to do, they need to continue to. I mean, they're so locked in. They continue to make it even easier for them to be a source of truth for core data. You need more openness there. You don't have to be the AI layer to do that.
Exactly. Why are they trying to train their own models? There's, like Lucinda pointed out, there's so many potential partnerships they can strike and leverage that data and be, their stock will go skyrocket, right? And they're not doing it. I wonder why.
I love Ashish's assessment. There's a talent drain and imagination rot.
But other than that, John, it sounded really good in the boardroom whiteboard.
Yeah. Well, no, but all kidding aside, I'd be a little. I agree that they're not doing as much as I would expect them to do. Sitting there in Waldorf, trying to figure out. It's like, hey, look, why are we not part of this train, right? And that's left the station, but. I wouldn't completely count them out for all the reasons you said, Luda. That
they have the base. They have the base.
They have the access. They've got, they've got POs inside these large organizations. They've got these companies used to paying big prices. Anyway, yes, they should be doing more. But in the words of my Polish grandmother, they've done okay in this country, although it's a different country. All right, optional it is. Next and last, please.
Okay, the last one comes from AWS, and it is a case study about how Switchboard MD automates real-time call transcription in clinical contact centers with Amazon Nova Sonic.
All right, Lucinda, doctor-led company trying to decrease the well-documented bureaucratic overhead in American medical practice for doctors.
Yep. So I thought this was a fantastic use case, and it was well presented. So I'm giving it an important because not everybody is dependent on. Not all companies are dependent on audio intensive types of applications. but this was here in a high volume healthcare contact center. They applied the Amazon Nova model and also used Lambda and Bedrock, et cetera, as a means of transcribing these, and that the word error rates were probably fine for what this application is. They also used Amazon Connect for handling the calls. So I think it's a really good way of showing how these all can flow together. And there was definitely proof of value, 80-90% reduction in costs per claim. And it was, good. So if you're an AWS house, if you have audio applications, I think it's really good.
Yeah. Adam, in the pregame, you were important in this one?
Yeah, just classic Amazon use case, right? It's got great impact. It's got great architecture. They really plainly lay out exactly what's being done there, and it's actually the underlying article where they talk about that model, the Novasonic, talks about how cheap it is, but doesn't actually give any metrics. But in this article itself, because they did the comparison against the other models, OpenAI's Whisper as well as the Whisper Large, you can really see how cost competitive Novasonic is in this use case. It's not available in the in the Azure model catalog yet, but they certainly have models from Mistral and Anthropic and other things in there. So potentially this will be a good option for a lot of people soon.
All right, Luna.
Yeah, I like the case. I think it is important because it's not generally applicable. That's why important, not essential. But I was kind of between important and essential. It was well laid out, small. It's not very long. It's very digestible, quite impressive business results, not very complicated implementation. So in a very complicated industry. So yeah. I was important to essential, actually.
And real-time transcription is absolutely generally applicable.
Yeah, yeah. And I was kind of on the fence there too, because it also does a good job of dealing with this cost of inference issue, which we've talked a number of times about. Yep. It's going to be a bigger and bigger issue going forward. Akash.
I was essential on this one, John. I think everybody needs a contact center, right? And this is a beautiful case study back to original Amazon case studies that we are always impressed by, right? So I think everybody can learn how to run better contact centers from this. So essential for that.
All right, Paul. Essential?
Yeah, I was leaning more towards essential as well. I mean, it's 20,000 calls a month, so that's material. It is an area that there's been a lot of talk in the call centers, but there still has been for a bunch of technical reasons, still a lot of stuff in production. This is in production. We've also had a lot of essential articles that haven't been case studies. I think this is a good one to add to the mix.
All right. Well, you guys have taken me from the disciplinarian at important going up to essential. All right. We're going for essential on this one. All right. That's all of it. Ankash, please work on the top board. And then, Paul, I know you've got a number of announcements. I have one announcement.
Yeah, a couple announcements today. Today, John's going to be keynote at AI Realize. It's an all-day virtual conference focused on enterprise AI, and I think, John, you might be doing a panel later on, and I'm moderating a panel and also doing a panel later on. Second is tomorrow we've got our Copilot free training. We had a great one. I'm sorry, tomorrow's ChatGPT at noon Eastern. Yesterday we had one on Copilot, which was very well attended, and we continue to get really good announcements from that. I feel there's a third announcement. I can't remember right now.
It's the Learning Lab on Monday. You're going to be doing the AEO, the search engine optimization to answer engine optimization research that we've been doing.
Yeah, we've been walking through the primer. We've got really good feedback from the primer. We're filling up our AEO private peer group on November 21st. And AEO is definitely on people's radar screen, and it's shocking is the wrong word. There's a really important need to get the basics understood. Sure. And we're getting a lot of feedback, great feedback from our very basic primer.
All right. And Lucinda, anything new at Ironside you want to talk about?
Let's see. I don't think so at this point. I think we will be at AWS in reInvent. So that's very exciting.
All right.
Yeah, I did actually want to mention that, the audio one there, we're doing a use case right now that will have an audio component to it. So this use case is extremely relevant to what we're doing right now.
All
Cool.
right. So today we had 1 essential, 1 important, and 4 optionals. Have a great AI day, everybody, and hope to see you at AI Realize. Bye-bye now.